Hi viewers, a lot has been going on in Manipur over the last few weeks as violence, bloodshed, and a lot of curfew, everything has been happening in Manipur as a result of communal unrest. Let's talk to Samir and find out what's the situation in Manipur and what's the scenario on the ground. First up, Samir, let's start with the High Court recommendation. Could you please decode
Yes.
the Manipur High Court's recommendation to the state government to recognize the Meitei community as ST? Why the fight? Let's start with that.
Manipur High Court in March gave an order asking the state government to recommend to the center to grant ST status to the Meitei community. This order is actually later on the Supreme Court also in an directive said that this was a faulty judgment because the earlier Supreme there is a there in an earlier Supreme Court order it had clearly said that this is not the jurisdiction of the court. Granting of ST status, the court cannot ask the state to grant ST status to certain any community. So from the very beginning, this judgment was faulty. Now, why this ST status is such a contentious issue in Manipur? See, Manipur has 31% ST reservation for the hill tribes like the Kukis, Nagas, and they mostly live in the hill areas and in the plain, in the valleys, in the foothills, the Meiteis reside. So the problem is that the Meitei constitute around 53% of the population, 53% of the population. But the land in valley is less than the land in hills. So there is overpopulation in the valley, and valley being Imphal city, which is the capital. So valley being more developed, there is migration of people from the hills to valley, particularly in Imphal city.
Right.
And but the people but Meitei people who are the inhabitants or residents of valley, they cannot go and buy land in the hills because hill lands are reserved for the scheduled tribes. Now, once the Meiteis get scheduled tribe status, apart from benefits in jobs and other educations, they will also get access to the land that which are in the hills, and that is what created a kind of insecurity among the tribals who felt that once Meiteis get ST status. Their land will be occupied by them, so that has created a sense of insecurity. But in this whole violence, in this whole conflict, uh, this ST demand was actually just a triggering point. There were this build-ups were going on for last say about a year because of series of decisions taken by the BJP government there, which were perceived by the Kuki community as a racial profiling of the community, then selective, victimization of them. The ST demand was just a trigger point, but this pent-up anger was already there. It was simmering for quite some time.
So violence has been the order for the last few weeks in Manipur. Since you're on ground, tell us how bad has it been?
Now the segregation of communities has been almost complete. Like in the Meitei dominated valleys, you will hardly find any Kukis. In the Kuki dominated hill areas, you will hardly find any Meiteis. So this segregation has been complete, and this mistrust is so deep seated that the two communities are also not willing to immediately come together and sit for negotiations. Neither sides are in a reconciliatory mood. I think this peace, normalcy, though there, particularly in Imphal city, there are some semblance of normalcy. Shops are opening, then offices, shops are opening, vehicles moving on the streets and all. That is the time when curfew is relaxed from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. But beneath the surface there is tension, and in every localities you will find some protest or human chains are being formed. uh, and in the peripheries you will find the volunteers guarding their areas. So overall the situation is very bad, and the state administration is also facing severe shortage of senior top bureaucrats, because many of the top bureaucrats were cookies. And as I said, now the segregation has been completed. So many bureaucrats have also either taken leave or gone on deputation outside the state. Particularly, I'm talking about the cookie bureaucrats. So, which has forced the state government to move the center to bring in some senior level officials from the central secretariat on contingency as contingency measures.
Tell us about these so-called ghettoized zones where checkposts have been placed in certain areas, is what we come to know, where volunteers of both communities, the Kuki community and the Meitei community, are indulging in frisking. Please tell us about that. Why is it happening? Why are they doing that?
See, yes, ghettoization has been completed, as I said, segregation of, and now once they have created a ghetto zone of their own, so there they don't want entry of the other community. So in the Kuki areas, they don't want Meiteis to come because they fear that this will again trigger fresh conflict. So they don't want any this overlapping, crisscrossing of community from one areas to another, and that's why they have put up checkpoints. Particularly the women volunteers, they check every vehicles passing from one territory to another. Uh, they also fear that somebody might, in the guise of civilian, they might carry guns or weapons. This ghettoization also manifest the complete mistrust the one community has on the other.
They have been, the two communities have been living together for centuries. They've been peaceful. So if they do not want any more indulgence or any connections with each other anymore, and they are looking to create separate zones, is it like the whole community wants that, or is it just the section of those communities want it? I'm trying to ask you if this is
Yeah.
natural progression of two communities parting ways, or is it political?
See, in Northeast, this community is very well governed. Actually, they have a very like village councils, then the civil society organization. They have lots of power. Like a student body's call can halt Bankal or any dictate given by the student bodies. Student body can bring a state to a standstill. So they hold that kind of authority. So this diktat or these decisions of segregations are taken by the influential tribal volunteer tribal civil society organizations of both the communities. And as a
And sorry
in
to interrupt, and the larger section of the society is fine with this.
Yeah, because even the state government at times find it difficult to undermine the stand taken by the civil society groups. So that kind of influence they wield in the society.
Right. So, if not for the ghettoization and creation of separate zones, is there a solution? Is there any other solution to this problem at all?
See, obviously, this ghettoization cannot go on for for months and months. So there has to the two communities will have to come together. Will have to sit together. But particularly the leaders of the communities will have to sit together and iron out their differences, misunderstandings, then mistrust. So and for that. a peace committee has been formed with the governor as a headed by the governor. But then the Kuki communities are objecting to the inclusion of Chief Minister Biren Singh into that committee. The first steps towards restoring normalcy will be dialogue. The two sides has to resume dialogue.
What are the realistic chances of that dialogue happening?
As of now, found on the ground, this passion is running so high, and then social media campaign, attack this blame game and all. So first, this blame games and all this thing has to be stopped, and then, but again, this it's not that Manipur is for the first time witnessing any kind of ethnic violence. It has a history of ethnic violence. Yeah, earlier there were Kuki Naga clash, Kuki Meitei clash. So those kind of ethnic tensions happened even in the past, and the community is shown resilient to bounce back from that kind of um, conflict, and again lived happily together. So hopefully, once as they say, time is the great healer. So maybe in coming few months, we will see the temper receding, and then the communities will sit together and iron out the differences.
Thank you for your time, Samir, and giving us a comprehensive ground report from Manipur.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more news and updates.